They've been described as the most mysterious underground band from New Zealand. They are the Garbage and the Flowers, and MusicTalk has found them in Queensland, Australia, where Helen and Yuri are keen to talk about their new album, Cinnamon Sea.
So you guys recorded this thing in an abandoned courthouse, I've read. Is that true?
No,
I love it.
It was an Airbnb.
It was an Airbnb.
It did used to be a courthouse, but we didn't.
We went wandering around without gear and suddenly come upon an abandoned courthouse.
But that's a better story, isn't it?
Yeah. Like giant kangaroos appeared and guided us to an abandoned courthouse.
Yep, that makes sense.
That's
what we want to believe.
There was a little town called Town, which is, Castle. There's a place called Castlemaine just outside of Melbourne, which is in the old gold fields, like from the old gold rush in the sort of 1830s sort of time, and Fry's Town. Castlemaine's become a bit of a sort of a alternative kind of lifestyle, alternative music and art sort of haven outside of Melbourne, and Fry's Town isn't far from Castlemaine, but it is quite a spooky sort of kind of ghost town, with this abandoned courthouse.
Gotcha.
Which, Airbnb. There it is.
I mean, we saw about 3 people the whole time.
Yeah.
I think they were holiday houses, and
you'd see more like giant kangaroos than people in this place. And dusty old town.
We had a little veranda we'd sit on after recording, and that was just on one of the main streets, looked out on one of the main streets, and these big kangaroos, because I've never really seen them before, they're probably 8 foot, would just hop down the road. They were really big and they were a bit scary. And I got there the first night. I was the first one there, and then we recorded the next day, but they jumped right over the fence and came and started eating from the apple tree in the back garden. So I was like watching them. Like,
yeah.
They were cruising around the house the whole time we were recording.
Very cool.
And could jump this really high fence.
Did they seem to enjoy the music?
No.
No comments.
Yeah.
No comments.
No comments.
At least they're not critiquing. Oh, that's good. So when you arrived at this place, did you have all the songs in place? Did you know what you're going to do, or was it more of a let's see what happens kind of deal?
Yeah, I'd been rehearsing them with Ben and Paul and Dan. We called ourselves Pigeoneers,
right.
And we just had a few practices. So we're quite well prepared. Usually we're not prepared.
Right.
But Ben's quite a professional musician. Like, he's had a bit of a career. Had a kind of a best-selling single. Was on Triple J in Australia. So yeah, he was very good at organising us, and he took all his computer gear. Like, he recorded us on an Apple II Fry's Town.
Right.
Yes, but when we were rehearsing as pigeons, birds would come.
Oh.
They did come and sit in lines outside.
All right.
So we thought they were
cool. So since there's only 5 tracks on the EP, maybe we can just go through them one by one, and you can give me a little insight into how they were written, how they were recorded, what they mean to you, starting with I Know Who You Are, which is the opener. And has a very Velvet Underground-y sound to it, I must say.
That was one of the more recent songs that's from that record. I started writing it, and not that long before it was recorded, really, and Helen helped me finish it off. Yeah, it's
It was more political.
what's that?
Didn't it have more political lyrics?
I don't know. The lyrics are always,
Did it have more?
they have a vaguely.
You go.
It was vaguely meant to be about Ned Kelly originally, but
Oh, right.
didn't really- so it was kind of like
He's always
about
good for a
Australia.
song. Right.
So
right.
yeah, but I recorded it when I was when I got a new 12-string guitar, actually 12-string electric guitar, a copy of a Rickenbacker, and yeah, the song came quite naturally just from the beautiful chimey sound the 12 strings
Right.
have.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Velvet Underground used 12 strings, but the 12 strings seems to evoke that sort of resonant sound that the Velvets had, and very good at.
Cool.
Yeah, and then, I just changed some of the lyrics and the verses. So it's a very unfinished. Like we didn't get the lyrics fully finished when we were recording in Friarstown. So when I hear it, I'm a bit ashamed.
Oh no.
They sound very finished. Now it's about cars and insects and
Okay.
stuff.
So it's followed by this title track, Cinnamon Sea. To me, it has. You probably hate me doing this, but I'll tell you who it sounds like. It sounds a little bit Doorsy to me.
I love you not, so cares to be not. Where is the snake and lovely Maria? I say the other swayeth me down by the dunes and the western sea.
There was a song that Helen and me put together, composed together, and it was pretty complete when we did it. We put it together in just one afternoon in Sydney, and yeah, we both sort of traded sort of lyrics, verses, one verse and then the other, and yeah, that wasn't written that long before the recording either. It was from the last days that Helen was living in Sydney, and sorry, Helen. Yeah,
About a year before.
Yeah, that was nice. I really enjoyed writing that with Helen. It was like the culmination of our sort of ability to write songs together, and it came out very, very easily, and sort of yeah, quite proud of that one as a song.
Cool.
Maybe that's
Yeah. Yuri was just strumming chords, and his partner Sarah was painting behind him, and I just thought he was playing a song that he'd written, but he was just like playing around. Right. And then I was like, "Oh yeah, what are you playing, Yuri? It's like your new song." And so then we just made it into his chords, turned them into a song. Yeah, but yeah, I'm glad you say that about the Doors, because the first recordings we did were quite gothic.
Right.
Like they were quite slow and quite sort of weird and gothic. Like the ones on the Fire release are sort of shiny and bright, but the mood and the mood of it was quite weird and gothic. Yeah, a bit like the Doors, the very first recording.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned Fire. Fire is the label you guys are on. How'd you get hooked up with those guys?
Quite kind of odd, strangely, I suppose. There's a guy called Mark who runs a small record label or used to run a small record label called Bow Weevil Recordings, and it was based in the UK. He was actually moving to Australia. I think I'm not sure if he's still in Sydney, but he's moving to Sydney, and he hooked up with us. We got a bit of interest. This is about 2012. We got a bit of interest from a couple of different directions about re-releasing our double album, Eyes
Right.
Rhiners of Beggars, which had come out in 1997 on the Now Sound, which was like a US label.
Right.
And yeah, Mark was started talking to us about re-releasing the double album on his label, Bo Weevil, and it turned out that he used to work for Fire, used to work for them, and he, after we'd sort of agreed to the re-release with him, he came back to us and said that he'd actually started talking to Fire Records, and they were interested in doing a co-release with Bo Weevil. So that's how it ended out being. The double album was re-released on Fire and Bo Weevil together. So that sort of started that relationship with Fire, and
Cool.
yeah,
All right.
that was when we sent them the Cinnamon Sea recordings. They were luckily they were happy to release it. So
Yeah, we didn't want to self-release. A lot of work, and it just happened to be pre-COVID,
Right.
and you didn't want to be lugging records to a post office during 2020. Yeah, but they have a much bigger label now than
Yeah.
when they re-released Eyes Rhyme.
Yep.
So that was a bit of a thrill. We didn't realise.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So they had a lot more capital pumped into them.
Right. So the next track
And
that
they
we
had
can
more
talk
with-
about is Red Star, which has quite a distinctive vocal performance on it. Tell me about that.
Workers of the world, the one-eyed pyramid is stacked with gold, and our philosophy has long foretold the fruits of our labor will be ours to hold. On the front of an armored train, swinging from the end of an iron crane, smashed to pieces every ball and chain, shining now and shall remain.
that's another quite a recent song that I put together when I was living in Ipswich, and it's quite a political song. I guess I came from like a background of not really being like interested in the idea of putting politics into music, but I've become since about 2005 becoming more and more involved politically with a communist group, a Trotskyist group in Sydney, and it's become more and more something that's important to me in my life. So it's something I had a crack at writing about, sort of what communism means to me, and
Okay.
yeah. So that's I think it's pretty hard to put politics into rock and roll music without sounding a bit sort of try hard. I mean, it's been done a couple of times, not too badly. Billy Bragg's done quite a good version of Internationale, but sometimes it comes across a bit too, how would you put it?
Didactic.
Yeah.
That's how I shoot. Very good.
But that was,
All right.
Yeah.
And On the Radio, which is very jangly, and that I assume that On the Radio has quite a bit of jangle going on there. Is that the 12 string?
Well, the 12-string features on all of the recordings. That's actually like a real Rickenbacker 12-string
Right.
guitar that I ended up getting, and that puts a pretty definitive sound over the whole recording. And yeah, on the radio's one of the older songs. It dates back to 2002 or so, and we've had a few cracks at recording that over the years. And yeah, this has been, I thought it was a pretty successful attempt. I like the jangle on it.
Right.
Yeah, it's sort of when. Sorry.
I said, do you guys have a lot of songs in the back catalog, as it were, that are sitting around waiting to be finished up?
Yeah, we do. We've got a few. We didn't do that many. We played in Sydney for quite a number of years. It was as a 3-piece. Stu, Helen, and me, from about 2004 till 2013. We released an album called Stoned Rehearsal, which features some of our songs from that era. But yeah, there's a few other things, and yeah, we had a.
Yeah, that's actually a rehearsal. So we didn't mean that to be anything, but then it seemed to be quite entertaining. So we released it. Yeah, but I really like that on the radio because I think that the playing's really good. Like, it sort of reminds me a bit of a raga sometimes, the drums and the guitars. So I'm pretty pleased with that. Other attempts to record it have just been bland, hasn't had much spirit, so that was good.
Cool.
Yeah, playing
live recording.
Yeah, being in a band.
We didn't do any overdubs.
Yeah, being in a band that's sort of.
We didn't do any.
Sorry, Helen? No.
We didn't do any overdubs, did we, Yuri? It was all live.
That's right.
Live in the room, Town.
Yeah, that's right. And the
So
fact that it was a courthouse meant it was quite a big resonant sort of chamber.
Right.
I think I read somebody saying that there was an obvious reverb effect on the record. I'm not sure. I think it's just the natural reverb of the old
room.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool.
The abandoned.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, like, getting being in a guitar band and being inspired by things like Velvet Underground and Big Star. The idea of trying to record guitars that sound sort of resonant and that ring together is very important. We used to play with another original guitarist, Paul Yates, and he used to talk about the sort of the ringing of guitars melding together. And I mean, I've come across recently that jangle pop has become a genre now.
Sure. Everything's a genre now.
Yeah, green pop.
Yeah, you get about how to play jangle pop sort of on the internet now, which.
Really?
Well, everything's
I got all my secrets, sort of all the chord shapes and open chord shapes, and but it's kind of an easy way to play. And but I'm glad we managed to capture something that sounded so jangly. That was quite successful, I think, thanks to Ben's production.
Right. No. Cool.
Yeah.
Now
he was very meticulous. Like, he took a day to set up the mics, a whole day, which you wouldn't have that time in a normal studio. But
clock's running
because he just ordered it.
Yeah,
like we had that time to set it up because we, hiring an Airbnb works economically for a band, better than going into a studio with, you've got half an hour to set up drums.
I mean, things have changed since we first recorded, and to get a recording studio, you need to spend like $20,000 at least to get all the right gear. And now it's all, become miniaturized and digitally, and
amazing what you can do at home.
Even Apple iPhones do such good recordings.
Yeah.
Like, they really do.
Yep.
Just about on the radio, like it's got double jangle because, as Yuri said, it uses open chords. Like there are strings that don't have fingers holding them down; they're just ringing, aren't they?
Gotcha.
That wouldn't
Now,
Yeah.
the final song is Jacob B. It almost starts out like it's a folk song, which is kind of different.
And you're driving in your car. And your world is very small, small, three.
Yeah, well, most of our songs are folk songs, I suppose. You know, like they're most of our songs are written very simply with
Right.
pretty standard chords. But yeah, that's one that I think Ben and Helen sort of encouraged me to play on an acoustic guitar that was around, lying around the courthouse, and yeah, so we do play that. We have played that song in a full sort of band context, but yeah, that was something that Ben wanted me to try out, and I only got through one verse and one chorus, so it's sort of I think we've got a version of that on Stone Rehearsal that goes on for a bit longer, but
Yeah. I mean, we were trying to keep the songs short, but in retrospect, they could have gone longer, but that's just how it went.
Right.
Really.
Well, you can always do that when you get out to play live. So
Yeah.
yeah.
there's always that.
And that one,
But I don't know what the
Jacob is about Jacob
Right.
Burma, the famous Christian mystic. That's
Oh, okay.
yeah.
And what inspired you to write a song about him?
I think I had one of his books, and flicking. I think I've had a few attempts at writing songs based on his lyrics. You know, an easy way to find words for songs is to try to find, you know, likely sounding lyrics and other writing. So yeah, maybe that was also the yeah, I guess
what was his thing?
he was sort of a nature mystic. He was a nature mystic. He saw sort of God and you know in a blade of grass, and that's sort of what I was inspired by.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know it's been
Yeah,
a long time since you guys have been in New Zealand and performed here, especially. So any chance of that ever happening?
Yeah, I'd really like to come over as soon as possible.
Right.
I've got a couple of kids now, and they've never been to New Zealand. And even though we've spent a lot of time in Australia over the last couple of decades, New Zealand is still kind of where my heart is, probably. So
Right. Yeah.
I haven't been back that much. We went on a short tour of mainly this. Where did we go? It was mainly the South Island, wasn't it? Yeah, back in 2009, I think. That was the last time I think it was
With
in New
panel of
Zealand.
judges.
Yeah, panel of judges.
That's how we playing with panel of judges. Yeah. Yeah, we went to Wellington, Dunedin. Did we play in Christchurch?
Yeah, we
Yuri?
played in Christchurch, but I didn't make it. I was being held up by the New Zealand Customs airport.
Oh, jeez.
So I missed the first gig. I was strip searched, and
Christchurch.
yeah, and yeah, I only just made it to the gig as it was shutting its doors, and Helen and Stu had to play as a two-piece.
A nice welcome home, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was a fun.
Yeah. So I'm hoping for a better sort of welcome next.
yeah, welcome. Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll see what happens. You never know. So, all right.
Yeah.
So are you doing gigs around Australia?
Yeah, we had an interesting gig a couple of months ago in Brisbane at the Powerhouse. We supported Robert Forster from the Go-Betweens.
Oh, yeah, I saw you did that. Yep.
Yeah, so that was quite a privilege to sort of to
Sure.
do that, and because we used to be, especially Helen, used to be a huge fan of the Go-Betweens, and
Yep.
yeah, so to actually
Before we
meet
even
him.
thought
And,
about,
yeah,
yeah, before we ever thought about being in a band, I was listening to the Go-Betweens, just enthralled. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Right,
And
yeah.
Robert Forster's an interesting
And
character.
I think the way he writes lyrics is very poetic. Like, I think they really influenced me.
Right.
Just the way our lyrics are written. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it generally is of that kind of poetic abstract type that I heard them doing.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, you get them printed pretty young.
That's for sure. That's the
Yeah.
stuff that stays with you. Is the first stuff.
yeah. So
All right.
we're hoping to play in Melbourne soon.
So
I'd really like to make it to Auckland, because when we first formed in the '90s, I think we had sort of a bit of a support base in Auckland, sort of more than any other town in New Zealand. So we had a few other bands in Auckland, like that were around, like Saline, and
Right.
so it'd be good to get back.
Stella.
Mm.
Yeah, we had mates. You suddenly had friends from bands.
We
in
played there
Auckland.
once
Yeah.
at the gallery. It was a test strip gallery that was on K Road. That was a pretty good gig.
Cool. All righty.
So I'd like to make it up there. So maybe we'll see you.
Yep, definitely. You come to the Whammy Bar. It's on K Road.
Yeah.
That's the place to.
That was a really wild gig. Like, we played a lot of improvisation and noise, and we looked like really hippie like at the
Right.
time. Like, people almost had dreadlocks, and yeah, we were really dressed differently from the Aucklanders, and no one would talk to us because we looked so really dressed like hippies.
Very cool.
But do you remember? Anyway, funny.
All right.
It was like yeah.
Well, we've gotten through the whole EP, so that's exciting. And yeah, love to see you guys come around here. Be very cool. So thank you for talking to me. Glad we got it all together.
Thank you for asking us.
Thank you.